Oh yes, you're welcome back to today broadcast. So in today broadcast, we talk about Alex Barbir, the U.S. the U.S. missionary, the U.S. foreign missionary that is in Nigeria, working and building houses for those people that Boko Haram has already destroyed their home, their house, their everything, their livelihood. So he is in Nigeria with his team to build houses and to try to build things for the people in Benue State, Plateau, and some of other parts of Middle Belt. But due to the thing he said, according to the government, they say that he's inciting hate speech or is inciting violence against other people. And according to them, that is why they deport him, or that is why they chase him out of Nigeria. So the man, he has now come out by himself trying to expose them, because in this video he talked a lot of things concerning what is going on in Nigeria and the main reason why Nigerian government don't want him to stay. And in fact, he even exposed a lot of people, a lot of things that is happening in Nigeria. So according to the headline says, Alex Barbir exposed those behind insecurity in Nigeria and the main reason Tinubu chased him out of Nigeria. So you are going to hear everything in this video, because he's the one that they grant interview, the main reason why the Tinubu government chased him out of Nigeria, and the evil the media is doing. This our mainstream media. The main thing they are doing, the thing that they used to do against people whenever they want to use you or whenever they want to dethrone you. So they will start using something that you did not say, present him to the government, claiming that it is what you say to them. Then before you know, they will now find something to pin you. In fact, they are doing a lot. Don't skip any part of it. Try to watch it for you to see by yourself and for you to understand things that is going on in Nigeria.
One thing I have realized about some Nigerian media houses is this: they will go to a broadcast or an interview you grant, pick up a line, take it to court and use it against you. If you doubt me, for those of you that know very well, they did that against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They did that against Sowore. For those of you that know very well, they also did that against Dele Farotimi. Oh yes. Now, this guy that is called Alex, they granted him an interview on TVC yesterday. Come and hear questions. Come and hear the kind of questions they were asking him. It's just, anyway, let me not talk, but then I beg you to spend a little time and listen to how they wanted to hear everything from this guy's mouth.
Now, the issue is not whether your visa was revoked or not. The question is, why does it appear your activity in Plateau State and indeed Benue State is making an already bad situation worse?
So I would first pose the question, what that has been done has made it worse?
Well, your comments and the rhetorics you're pushing, calling on the local population to defend themselves at a time when the government is already, working with security agencies to ensure that this violence and the whole tit-for-tat violence we're seeing in this region is brought to an end. And, they say that your comments and rhetorics are kind of insightful in that area at a very sensitive time.
Yeah, so I don't really see which comment has been insightful. I have called that, one, the terrorism should end, that the government should be doing everything in their power to protect innocent people, Muslim and Christian alike. I've been very vocal about, obviously, the Christians who are being killed across Plateau, Benue, Taraba, those types of states. But I've never rejected, and I've directly talked about the violence happening in Zamfara, in Katsina, in Sokoto, and Kwara. I mean, the ones who were killed in the Woro massacre, which you're very aware about, were primarily Muslim people. There's still hundreds of people that are in captivity that were kidnapped, both in Kwara and then also, we saw recently with ISWAP and Boko Haram in Borno State, hundreds of people that are still in captivity. And so the things that I have said, I would say that I would ask people to show me and tell me specifically what rhetoric and what words are causing anything. Because for me, I've called that, yes, innocent people should be defending themselves. You know, in America, we can do this. You know, in America, you have more guns than you do people. And so, you know, this type of issue can't even really happen in America,
But
because
this is,
if I were to go to someone else's house, they would defend themselves.
Alex,
you know?
this is Nigeria, and the peculiarities are different. In Nigeria, we also have laws against the proliferation of arms, unlike in the United States of America. Here in Nigeria, we depend on the government and security agencies, you know, to defend the population. So that's why the government and indeed certain stakeholders find, you know, this narrative you're pushing offensive and capable of inciting the people. There are also claims that there was a meeting you held with the local population, and after, you know, talking to them, there was a reprisal, a revenge attack that also led to the death of two other people in Plateau State.
That was already done before I arrived. If you actually, what I noticed was the burning in the fire, the people had taken revenge, and that fire was actually where the attack happened, which I found out after I had left Angwarukuba. So they had killed two people, innocent people that were Muslims from what I was told, in revenge for the original attack. And those two people were in Akeke, from what I was told. And so they were killed before I arrived. So it's a false narrative to try to say, oh, because this person came that they went and did this. For 2 decades, have Christians not taken revenge after being attacked in Jos? This is nothing new. It's been happening for 20 years. You know, let me tell you this. The founder of the ministry that I work with in Jos, he was murdered by Muslims in front of the university. He was on the way back from a funeral because it was a middle of a crisis. He was cut into pieces. What? His body parts into pieces in the middle of a crisis. This was 7, 8 years ago. I wasn't there. So it's a false narrative to try to say that, oh, because a white man came, all of a sudden people are killing people. For decades, people are killing people.
Alex, you said something earlier that Muslims are also being killed. You talked about Zamfara, Katsina State.
Absolutely.
So why continue pushing a narrative that appears to support what they call now the Christian genocide? When you also agree and you have admitted that Muslims alike are also 100%. Being killed, there's a peculiar problem. How well do you understand these problems, you know, before coming with your own intervention to try to, you know, talk to the people?
No, it's 100% truth. Like I said, Muslims are being killed in Nigeria. This can't be questioned. It's a fact. But there's two things that I want to really be clear about, okay? If you say that Christians are being killed and there may be a Christian genocide, that doesn't mean that Muslims are not being killed in Nigeria. And so I want to be very clear about that. What I am saying and what I have seen with my own eyes and what I've heard from Christians and Muslims alike in Nigeria, there's two things. In Zamfara, in Borno, Kwara, Katsina, Sokoto, Muslims are being killed, Muslims are being kidnapped, thousands of villages have been burned. It's pure evil. Across the Middle Belt, specifically in Plateau, Kaduna, Benue, Taraba, the truth is that Christians are directly being targeted. That can't even be disputed. And the question that I would ask is, if this is not the case, how many Muslims and how many Fulani people have been killed? How many of their villages have been burned in these states? So again, I'm only referring to Plateau, Taraba, Benue, Kaduna, those places. Fulani cattle herders are not killing their own people. They're not burning their own villages. They're going and targeting Christians in their villages. And so that is why we are saying, okay, in these states, Christians are being targeted. We're not saying Muslims are not being killed and Muslims are not suffering across Nigeria, because they are. That's the truth. It's a fact. And I've never said anything different than that.
All right, Alex, I would ask you now, it has been alleged that, you know, you're serving the interest of foreign influences. You even had to debunk claims that you wanted to debunk claims yourself that you're a CIA agent. You continue to insist, you know, your intentions are genuinely to protect vulnerable Christian communities. Well, but even the road to hell is paved with good intentions, Alex. How do you explain allegations that, you know, you were invited by a certain aide to the former governor of Benue State to push certain political agenda in Nigeria?
If I were to respond to every allegation, I would never move from a newsroom. The reality is that people will continue to allege anything they desire, anything they think. And what I would say is, if you want to allege something, then there needs to be evidence or proof of such. You can't just say that I'm going to allege that this person is this person is that, this person has done that, but I have no proof of that actually being done. So if someone wants to say, oh, this person is CIA, he's a foreign operative, foreign agent, what shows that I'm a foreign agent or foreign operative? Well, is there any type of proof or evidence at all? And even more so, which CIA operative or foreign agent is in the public eye? I mean, everything about me is public. I don't try to hide anything. You can see my life, my history, where I played football, what state I'm from, where I do work, what countries I go to, what I've built. I'm very open. I have nothing to hide. So it's on the burden of the people to show proof, not for me to disprove false allegations with no proof.
All right, then, Alex, I'll come back to you, but let's get to Obafemi George now into the conversation. Mr. Obafemi, you've listened to Alex Barbir's defense. Now, my question is, at what point does humanitarian intervention cross the line into political interference or conflict escalation?
Thank you, Femi, for having me. And I've listened attentively to Alex, and I've also, looked at his footprint on social media to see the work that he has done. To start with, he's done well. Building 35 houses in Benin, that's commendable. However, foreigners should desist from a Messiah mentality. When you come into a country like Nigeria that is extremely complicated, you cannot understand where we're coming from in 1 month, in 2 months, or even studying our history in 2-3 years. The reason why the comments of people like Alex, why it got people agitated, and I've seen in social media, I've seen the things he said on Instagram. The reason why people are agitated, people like someone like me will be concerned, is because I remember what happened in Rwanda, the genocide between the Hutus and the Tutsis. The Hutu president was killed in a plane crash, allegedly by the Tutsis. And someone went on a radio station out of passion and just started saying, oh, are you going to watch the cockroaches kill our president, kill the cockroaches? And Femi, before you know what's going on, within just 100 days, almost 1 million people were massacred. And that was ignited by a passionate comment by a radio presenter on the radio in Rwanda. So that's why, innocent comments, opinion by Alex based on what he had seen, that's why it gets people agitated. And before anybody can draw up a conclusion about the things that are happening in Benin and Plateau, it's a deep issue, Femi. It go back to over 200 years. If you allow me, let me tell you what's going on, because you see, the insecurity in the north has different dimensions. What's going on in Plateau, in Benin and Nasarawa is different from what's going on in Zamfara, or the killings in Kaduna, or the killings in Borno. They are two different issues. But specifically, since the conversation about Plateau and Benin, Femi, if you look at the composition of Plateau and Benin, those are predominantly Christian states. In Plateau, you have the Birom. In Benin, you have predominantly the thieves. Now, those were not tribes. Those were independent nations prior to colonization. And now, over 200 years ago, a jihadist, Usman Danfodio, led a jihad from northwest, conquered Kano, conquered Katsina, Sokoto, parts of Kebbi. However, that jihad failed in Benin. Benin wasn't existent, but the Tibi land, because the Tibi were able to resist that jihad. Likewise, it failed in Plateau and failed in part of the northeast. In Borno, because the Kanuri were also able to resist the jihad. Now, even though the jihad ended in 1815, the issues did not end. It was only quiet. Now, 1960, during the First Republic, when politics started in Nigeria, in the north, you had the Northern People's Congress, led by the Sadana of Sokoto, who was a great-grandson of Usman Danfodio. In the Western region, you had Action Group, led by Chief Obafemi. Now, in what you call the Middle Belt today, the North Central, Plateau and Benue, they refused to align politically with NPC. Because for them, they saw that as an unequal relationship. So instead of aligning with them, they aligned with Western region. Now, that did not go down well with NPC in the north. And NPC tried to use political power to suppress the people of the Middle Belt. That was what led to the riot of 1963, which snowballed into 1964. Hundreds of people were killed in Benue. So what you're seeing today in Benue did not start yesterday. So we don't need a Messiah to come and interpret what's going on.
Indeed.
And that didn't end in the First Republic. It went on and on. What you're seeing in Plateau today can still be traceable to that. So we need to be careful how we interpret. It's very, very, very deep. It has tribal connotations. It has religious connotations. It also has to do with land grabbing.
All right, then. I think now let me ask this, Mr. Obafemi. We've had claims of foreign backing and political or geopolitical interest in Nigeria. From your research now, how real is the risk of external actors exploiting Nigeria's internal conflicts?
It's very real, Femi. It has taken an international dimension. What you see happening in Bono, what you see happening in Kaduna, that is snowballing down to Kwara, has an international dimension to it. As far back as 2012, remember that in 2014, a gentleman was arrested in Abuja, an Iranian, with firearms. It's also on record that, there's an Islamic group that took some innocent Nigerians from Bono, took them to Pakistan and Iran, and schooled them in extreme religions and extreme Islam. So what is unfolding in Nigeria is bigger than what you see on social media. So we need to be careful. We can't just wake up one day and just put out a statement and then we know that Benue is on fire. We know that Plateau is on fire.
Well, Alex, let me bring you here now. Let me bring you in here now. You listen to Obafemi George, putting everything into proper context.
Yeah.
It certainly means that you need to first understand where Nigeria is coming from, understand our issues, understand our peculiarities before trying to throw solutions at these problems. Now, I'd like to take you up again on certain issues here. The Nigerian government was not comfortable with these, they call it divisive rhetorics that they say or allege that you were pushing in Plateau State and of course in Benue State. But overall now, we have laws in Nigeria, and for the Nigerian government, it appears as if you have flouted some of those laws. Are you ready to be held accountable if indeed your comments, your actions and inactions are found to have incited people to violence?
Which laws have been broken, can I ask?
Well,
even more so, which incitement to violence has been done? I appreciate the prior remarks and context regarding different issues in Nigeria. I would say that it's despicable to try to compare me to anything in Rwanda. It truly is disgusting. When have I called to murder one person? I have never once called for anybody to be murdered. I have called for people to be protected.
No,
the government
Alex,
is not doing their job.
Alex, maybe not directly.
Slaughtered.
Maybe not directly. You maybe not directly call it for revenge attacks, but from what you're telling the people, they get more agitated, and this leads to
defend themselves
violence. Yes,
killing.
To defend themselves. We have the government and security agencies.
Protect your own daughter and son from being killed by terrorists. Is that wrong? Is that harmful rhetoric? To protect your families from terrorists? Because it's Christians that we're saying to protect themselves? Everybody should protect themselves. And anybody in their right mind, if they are being threatened, if their daughter, mother, father, anybody is being threatened to be killed, it is their right to protect themselves. If you cannot live in peace and you cannot protect yourself, what country is this? If you can't live, what is that? Anybody in their right mind would not want their families to be killed, and that's all I call for. If the government is failing to protect you, you should protect yourselves from people who would take your life. There's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing breaking the law about that. There's nothing evil in that. And from my understanding, even in Muslim and Christianity, you should protect yourself from threats. I'm not saying to go and take up arms and go murder the government. I've never called for that. I've never called for anybody to be murdered. I've never called to do anything regarding the government. I said, protect yourselves from people who would threaten your life. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. No law has been broken.
Yes, an award-winning investigative journalist, he put out he did some investigations, about, your involvement in Nigeria, and he said an organization that you are affiliated with, that Building Zion organization, is responsible for spreading divisive rhetorics in mineral-rich West African countries. Is this about a push for Nigeria's mineral resources, or it is truly about peace and finding lasting solutions to the conflict? And how exactly are you even working with government whose primary responsibility is to ensure the safety of lives and property?
Which minerals have I sought? I haven't done anything regarding any minerals. I've never made comments regarding minerals. I've never touched a mineral. I build churches, I build schools, I rebuild villages that have been burned. I stand for the oppressed. I stand for freedom. I stand for the innocent people to protect themselves from terrorists and people that would take their lives. I've never discussed minerals. I have no interest in minerals. I don't even know what minerals there are in Nigeria. I know there's tin because I saw tin miners mining in Barkin. So I don't know where these allegations come from outside of people that simply are trying to slander, trying to spread misinformation and propaganda, to try to silence me, to discredit me, to try to shade over the work and the things that I am saying and what I am doing. But the reality is that truth is my greatest defense, because truth cannot be argued. A fact cannot be argued. Allegations can be argued. And this is an allegation.
All right,
but when there's no proof and there's no facts, there's nothing for me to say. I can't disprove, but there's nothing to respond to.
All right, then. Alex, what next for you? You have left the country. You deny claims or allegations or claims that your visa was revoked, but now you have left Nigeria. You're in Florida. Are there plans to return to continue with your work?
Absolutely. I actually went to Quara. I wasn't even supposed to be in Plateau during this mission. I went to Quara to rebuild Woro. And when I got there, between the government, the governor, the chairman, military, they said that we're not allowed to rebuild Woro village. They said there was a heightened security risk in that area. And so I had to reshape everything. I had to drive 20 hours through the night back to Plateau to figure out what I'm going to do and to reallocate those funds specifically for building in Barkin. And so I'm waiting to still go back to Quara to build for Woro. I have money specifically for that in the account for rebuilding. And so we're currently drilling. We're rebuilding a village in Barkin. And so we even did some building in Kebbi. And so, yes, I absolutely have plans to be coming back to continue that work. That Alex, is what I do. And I'm waiting to go to Woro.
Alex, who is funding you? Who's funding your works?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very open about this. So in America, when it comes to nonprofits, the primary people that fund these types of organizations are, one, you have individual people that give to charity. That's how nonprofits are primarily funded. Two, you have churches that give, and then you have also organizations that give. And so you have three pools of people that if they believe in what you're doing, they believe in the work that you're doing and how it's being done or whatever it is, then they support you with funds. This is how it works in America and
what do they want
countries all around the world.
And what do they want in return?
There's nothing in return. You don't get anything. It's charitable. So you give without any type of expectation of being given anything back. So that's how it works for charities and nonprofit organizations, which Building Zion is a nonprofit organization.
You will agree with me, there's been a lot of skepticism around, charity and charitable organization. Even the USAID, we saw all of the allegations around their activities. But let me bring in...
I've seen.
Yeah, let me bring in Obafemi George now. Mr. George, Nigeria has increasingly seen, non-state actors step into the fragile security space. Are they feeling a vacuum created by government failure or just complicating an already volatile environment?
So I'll be very honest with you, Femi. What we want to be talking about is actually what are the solutions? What can the government of the day do? Because you see, once there's a solution on ground, then we don't need people like Alex to come and try to fix our problems for us. And if you ask me, one of the things that I believe, it's not a magic wand. It's not going to put an end completely to insecurity, but I'm convinced that it will reduce it by at least half, is the creation of state police. Because one of the reasons why this has been going on is simply because in certain cases, federal agencies have been compromised. But when you have a state police, the motivation to protect the peace of a state goes beyond salary and remunerations. Because they want to protect their fatherland, they want to protect their indigenous land. So I'm convinced that state police, to a large extent, will curb insecurity. Secondly, I also think that justice that is seen to be done, not justice in the corner, justice that is seen to be done, will also curb this. Because you know what, Femi? For instance, if you look at Plateau State, Plateau was peaceful for decades. Crisis started in 1994 when one Alhaji Mato was appointed as sub administrator in Jos North local government. Now the indigenes, the Birom, felt that was an affront to them politically, and riot broke. 4 people were killed. After that riot, nobody was brought to book. 1997, they were killing. 6 people were killed. Both Christians and Muslims, nobody was brought to book. 2001, the same Jos North local government, a non-indigenous was appointed. One Alhaji Mukhtar was appointed as a coordinator for NAPEP. Again, crisis broke out. Femi, 1,000 people were killed in 2001. I repeat, 1,000. Same thing happened in 2002. 2004, another 750 people were killed. Nobody was brought to book. Nobody was brought to justice. So guess what? Reprisal attack, revenge, reprisal attack, revenge. So the president, and the president has demonstrated that he has the capacity to take bold and difficult decisions. We want him to make a decision and bring to justice the perpetrators of this heinous act. It doesn't matter whether the culprit is a bishop or a pastor or an emir or an imam or a sheikh. No, we want justice. Once there is justice, then you don't need state actors to come from America and try to mediate. Reprisal attack would stop. Because what fuels revenge is lack of justice. Once there's justice, then there's no spirit of revenge, and there's no reprisal attack. We need to put an end to this.
Well, Alex, final question from here. Well, we've seen several allegations, and you've also courted so much controversy with your activity in Nigeria. But on the final note, are you committed to seeing lasting peace, or seeing the government, restore lasting peace to Nigeria and ensure that both Christians and Muslim population are protected?
Yeah. The answer is yes, unequivocally. To me, it's actually a shame that I even need to speak regarding injustice in the killings. And I would actually completely agree with what you just talked about, that if there was justice, I wouldn't even need to say a word. I would prefer that I could come and build a school, build a church in peace, not have to say a word to anybody, not be in the public eye. That's how I began in Nigeria. But because of how much injustice I saw, and how every time I'd come, I'm getting reports from all these pastors, everybody kill, 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 kill. I'm like, how can I be silent? And so when I see those things, I'm like, truth needs to be told, justice needs to be served, and we need to speak for the innocent, speak for the oppressed. And so I am on the side of peace. I wish there was peace. I wish Muslim and Christian alike, that people did not have to be killed. Whether I disagree with your beliefs or not, that's okay. I'm not going to kill you because I disagree.
All right.
Oh yes. This is a very serious debate between Alex and Femi, the TV commentator, the TV presenter. That is Nigeria for you. They will be trying every means to put word in your mouth so that they will say, yes, it is what you do. That is how they used to do it. If you look at it very well, the way he's bombarding him with questions, and they're trying to throw word in his mouth, trying to put word in his mouth in the name that, yes, it is what you do. After then, they will now pick from there. The government will now pick from what he said here and try to nail him and try to say, yes, look at what he used to preach to the people. And compelling what is happening in Nigeria with what happens in this country that he mentioned. According to Alex, is an insult to him, because he never called for anybody to go to attack any group or to go to attack any region. What he used to talk about is self-defense, which is there in the law. But it is whenever you talk of self-defense in Nigeria as ordinary man, you say you want to defend yourself against these infiltrators, these bandits, these terrorists that is buying people everywhere. Once you talk about it, the next thing they will do, the government will come and pick you and start claiming that you are threatening the state. But the main people that is threatening the state, that is ransacking the state, it's destroying people's life, and they destroy many things, they are not picking them. They are not doing them anything. Instead of it, they'll be rehabilitating them back to the society and claiming that they are repentant Boko Haram and repentant bandits. But you that did not do anything, just that you speak, saying that you want to defend yourself out of these demonic people that is walking around destroying people's life, then the government will now fine you. Everything will now look as if those people and the government, they are working hand in hand to make sure that they are committing those evil and they are going free on it. We don't understand, because if you look at it, the whole thing that is going on in the country, it will look as if that the government is even in support of this their evil that they are doing. This man, according to what he said, he did not commit any crime that will enforce the government to take back his citizenship and also to deport him back to United States. He did not commit any, just that they are trying to pin him. There was a video he was saying, what about all the good thing he has been doing to the country, building schools, building house, and doing many things to the people. The government have not seen those things to speak about it. But it's because of that he now say let people try to defend themselves against those terrorists that is coming every day to buy them. Starting from there, the government now look at him as a threat to the country. It is a shame. And in fact, he said everything here. It is not a matter of where is the fact or where is the evidence. In fact, what is happening in the country, it is only God that we are in his hands. I would like to hear your comment down below. What do you think about the whole thing happening in Nigeria? Like, subscribe, and make sure you share it. I would like to hear your comments down below. Like and subscribe, let everyone see things going on in the country. Say thank you for watching.